What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reading some creepy encounter stories off of Reddit. Before I start this video, I will say this is like real life type of stuff. It's not anything paranormal or anything spooky or anything like that. This is like real life. I'm going to assume this is real life stories of people coming across like scary stuff. So if stuff like that bothers you, you might want to set this video out. And also, I will say I'm gonna be, as always, I am gonna be joking around, but I am also gonna be respectful because this is actual real people going through this stuff. So any of the jokes I make are more towards like the weird person at their expense and not the victims of the story. I just wanted to get that out of the way before I started the video. So with that being said, let's get straight into the first one. This first one's called "I Turned Around and He Was Chasing Me." I got off for work pretty late last night, and I got off one stop too early, so I walked to the rest of the way through a few residential blocks. I'm assuming they took a bus or some sort of public transportation because they said they got off somewhere. So I'm gonna assume it's like public transportation. So I realized a couple minutes in how dangerous this was, but it was too late since I was already halfway there, so I could just focus on walking faster as fast as I could. Sorry. For context, I live off a pretty busy street and it's Saturday night. I kept looking over my shoulder and suddenly this horrible feeling overcomes me, and I turn around to see a man and is running at me at full speed, not saying anything, just sprinting directly at me. He's a little far away and it takes a few seconds for me to realize what I'm seeing, but my fight or flight kicks in and I start running as fast as I can. I immediately realize I can't go home, so I just keep running as fast as I can until I reach a late night sports bar on the corner of my complex. That's actually pretty fucking horrifying. Like you're so close to home to almost getting there, and then you're like, wow, I can't even go home because if I make it home, this dude knows where I live, or I try getting in the house and he makes his way in and does whatever, and I can't even imagine how fucking horrifying that must have been. So I mean, but either way, they got to a sports bar and let's see where it goes after that. Another man walking in the same direction but on the other side of the street notices this and asks if I'm okay. I told him I'm being followed, to which he says I didn't see anyone. And at this point, I see him gaining on me, so I say forget it and keep running like my life depended on it. I get to the sports bar and tell them I'm being followed, and the employees rush outside to see him actively looking for me. Apparently, one of the guys working there got his face and chased him away. I spent the next half hour having a panic attack and trying to explain what happened. One of the employees flagged down a police car, but there's not really much they can do anyways. They let me stay at the restaurant until I calmed down and walked me home once I was okay. Hold on, the cop couldn't do anything. The cop couldn't have escorted her home, like drove her home and made sure she made it to her apartment or her house or whatever. I think it was an apartment complex. Either way, the cop couldn't have done anything. That's really shitty of the cop. If I was a cop, I'm like, hey, let me do you a huge solid. Let me just take you home and make sure you actually get into your house. That's just me though, but that's really scummy of the cop. They even like no one in the bar was like, hey, let me uh let me walk you home or something. I don't know. I don't know if that's overstepping, but if that was my sister or daughter, I would be more than happy if someone did that. But it is what it is. It's really fucked up. I know I shouldn't have been walking alone at night, but this is genuinely one of the most terrifying things that has ever happened to me. There is no doubt in my mind that this man wanted to hurt me. Am I reacting or is this fucking scary? Let me know. No, you're not overreacting. I mean, this dude was fucking chasing you and no one did. I think there's two horrible things about the story is no one really did anything. Yeah, the cops were around, but like the cop even then did not do anything. That's scummy as shit. I'm sorry. Like that pisses me the fuck off. And then of course getting chased by a stranger in the middle of the night on a Saturday night, which is really late, it's pretty fucking scary. I genuinely feel bad for this person, but yeah, this story is a little sad. I'm pissed off at the cop. I don't know why I'm so fixated on that. I'm just so fixated. Nobody helped, but it is what it is. So let's move on to the next one. This next one's called "This Creepy Situation from When I Was 13." When I was 13, I met my first. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how the rest of that song goes. I just know that's what Chris says. I think he says 13. I don't fucking remember. I'm sorry. When I was 13, I used to walk home. Uh, when I was 13, I used to walk for an hour every day during the summer. One afternoon, a man who was pulled over in a car seemed to be trying to talk to me. I couldn't really hear him, and he seemed to be on the phone, so I assumed. maybe he wasn't actually trying to talk to me, even though he was looking at me while he was talking, and I just kept walking. A few minutes later, he drove a bit past me and pulled over and stopped me on the side of the road. I still couldn't hear what he was trying to say, and he still seemed to be on the phone still. I don't know why they said still twice. So I continued walking. He did this one more time, except the third time he wasn't on the phone. He asked me if I needed a ride. I said no and kept walking. He turned down a side street and I figured it was the end of the weirdness, but it wasn't. This time in a different vehicle, a truck. I was almost at my destination. I was walking through the last parking lot before I got there when he pulled up in front of me, partially blocking my path. I stopped, figuring maybe he needed directions or something. It wouldn't be the first time I had given directions to a person. So I have a story of a stranger. This is terrible. This is so terrible what happened. But one day a couple years ago, I was door dashing and I was door dashing kind of late. It was like 11 or so, and I was about to wrap it up. And I was in an empty parking lot, which in hindsight I should have not done. And it was in a kind of bad part of town, but I was armed, so I was not really concerned either way. This lady pulls up next to me in this beat up old car, and I rolled down and like she was kind of like waving at me, and I was like, okay, uh, I don't know. I'm trying to be nice, and I rolled it. I rolled down the car. She just started yelling racial slurs at me. I'm not gonna repeat anything she said, but she said I was gonna burn in hell, and all these babies and stuff, racial slurs and stuff, were gonna burn in hell, and da da da. And yeah, I don't know. I was trying to be nice. Like maybe she was asking for directions, or maybe she was even asking for money because she was in a like beat up old car. She looked like a meth head, and yeah, that didn't go too well. So yeah, I don't know why that just reminded me of that story. But let's go on. He asked me if I liked older guys. I nervously laughed and I said something along the lines of, I mean, not really. Then he asked if I'd helped him move, and I said I can't. He asked if I liked making money and offered me $100 just to help him move a few things. I declined. He kept trying to talk to me, asking me what I was up to and that it would be an easy and quick $100. I noticed a guy on the far side of the parking lot wandering around, so I replied, I'm just meeting my friend. There he is now. And I gestured across the parking lot at this random guy. I waved. The guy waved back, and I started waving, and I started walking towards him. The man in the truck left. He got on the freeway, even though he told me earlier that he lived close, and it would be a quick job. As soon as he was gone, I turned around and I walked to my actual destination. I still wonder what the random guy thought, but I'm grateful he waved back. I was pretty much proud of myself for thinking on the spot and getting out of the situation when I told my parents what happened. But they banned me from walking by myself after that. And now I understand their reason. But at the time, I just took it as I got punished for telling them. That's kind of sad. I mean, a lot of kids think about that, but they don't really have that hindsight. You know, when they have kids or when they finally mature, they're like, oh, my parents weren't getting on to me because I talked to a stranger or stopped me from walking by myself. It's because they didn't want me to get abducted. So, but yeah, that the dude that waved back, he's a real one. He passes the vibe check. That was pretty cool. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. Hey you, yeah you, subscribe, leave a like, please. Thanks. This next one's called "My Neighbor Left a Dead Rabbit in a Bag in My Driveway." That's quite the fucking title. That's probably one of the craziest titles I've read on this channel so far. Okay, I know the title sounds super jarring because it is. Apologies for the long post. I wanted to provide as much context as I could. Yeah, that's a pretty jarring title, buddy. It's a good hook though. That's what in the literature world, that's what we call a good hook. I didn't really go to college. I went to college for a year, but whatever. About 4 months ago, my next door neighbor, who is a man in his late 30s, early 40s, began acting a little bit paranoid. It started with little things. For example, I remember him coming up to me and as I was leaving my house and asked if I had somehow left a earring in his house. By the way, I have stretched ears, and the earrings that he was referring to was a stud. I told him no and laughed it off. Honestly, I didn't think much of it. I assumed it was probably his 14-year-old daughter, even though he insisted it wasn't. Since then, it has gotten progressively worse. He started asking if I had seen anyone climbing into his window because he supposedly lost $100 or £100. I'm gonna say pounds. Is that I don't know the sign. I think it's pounds or euros. I'm gonna say dollars. I'm just gonna. He didn't spend it himself. Again, I obviously assumed it was his daughter that took it, but I didn't mention that this time. I also didn't see or hear anyone trying to enter his house. My house is semi-detached, so our houses are literally connected, and the walls are pretty thin. It'd be hard to miss something like that. I could go on and on about him knocking at my door and windows to ask random, seemingly unimportant questions, installing cameras that faced my driveway, etc. I began getting really concerned for him because I've known him for quite a while, and he used to be a pretty chill guy. Honestly, a dream neighbor, but today is what really scared me. I was outside with my younger cousins while they were playing with their friends on the grass next to my house, when one of them pointed out that there was a plastic bag in my driveway. I didn't see it at first because it was closer to my side of the house, and I wasn't too worried about it at this point. I just walked over and picked it up and threw it in the bin, but that's when I noticed there was something inside it. I looked inside, and at first it seemed like it was stuffing from the inside of a teddy bear or something, but as I looked closer, it was a dead fucking rabbit. A dead fucking rabbit that appeared to have all its organs removed. That's fucking gross. This dude gutted a rabbit. That's gross. I know it would be unfair to assume that my neighbor was the one that did it just because he's a little paranoid, but he saw me pick it up and realized what was inside. At which point he came over to me and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. My cat left that at my door yesterday, so I put it in a bag under the car to throw away. It must have blown over." How does it get blown over? It's you put like anything with weight in a plastic bag, it's gonna stay unless the wind is super strong, but I really doubt that. That's insane. This dude is weird. I'm sorry, but this bag wasn't in a position that looked like it blew over into my driveway. Also, there was weight to it. Galaxy, I mean, that is such a shitty excuse. I'm sorry. I understand that I might be overreacting and maybe he's telling the truth, but I'm very scared. I'm a big cat person, so anytime I see his cat, I say hi to her and give her a pet. I've never seen her bring back mice or anything, let alone a rabbit. I've also never even seen her leave his driveway. I'm just super freaked out by this, and I'm not really sure what to do. Am I overreacting? Do cats normally remove the organs from their prey? I mean, they eat them and they'll play with it, but a rabbit's there's rabbits that are about the size of cats, so that's a strong ass cat. And the rabbits also don't just show up to the driveway. They're very skittish creatures, so like you kind of have to go out and look for them, unless they're used to humans. But no, cats don't fucking disembowel rabbits. That's insane. At least I've never seen it. Maybe a Maine Coon because they're huge, but my cats could not disembowel a rabbit. That's insane. I don't want to falsely accuse him for leaving a dead rabbit in a bag under your car is pretty strange, right? Even if it's the truth. No, yeah, that's really weird. Honestly, I think this neighbor should get. Honestly, I think this person needs to get cameras because this guy seems really sketchy. If he's doing shit like that, and you have kids around too, like you don't know what he could do to the kids. He might hurt them. He might hurt you. But I think it's a good idea that this person gets a camera because this dude's kind of. I'm pretty sure it was him that did that. That's insane. But I also feel bad for him because he might be developing like paranoid schizophrenia and he's just doing shit like that now. And they said early 30s and 40s. But I heard schizophrenia develops really early if you have it. So maybe this guy got it late or something, but honestly, he might be developing that, or I don't know. He might be going under some sort of like mental episode to do that. That's gross because like I'm not saying this dude's gonna be a fucking serial killer, but a lot of serial killers kind of work their way up from like small animals to like eventually hurting people and then obviously killing them and stuff. And I'm not accusing this guy of anything, but like I would put up cameras just in case he starts. He might even kill his own fucking cat. And you want to see that. Like if the cat just disappears one day and you stop seeing it, you kind of have like that paper trail of evidence and stuff like that, just in case this guy just fucking loses his shit. So yeah, this is pretty fucked up. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. This next one's titled, I felt like I was in a horror movie. I was taking a college prep night course when I was in my early 20s. I made some friends there, and one of them would drive me to and from class. He was in his early to mid 20s and it was very nice, no bad vibes. I had a boyfriend at the time, and he knew this, and he never made any advances. My boyfriend had met him and had introduced him to my bestie because I thought that they would hit it off. So we had all hung out a few times, but I guess he, the classmate, was a little too eager to get to her, my bestie, in the bedroom. Maybe this should have been my warning sign. One night after class, he was driving me home as usual. He pulled off to the side of the road. In this very remote area near the woods, where people would commonly hike, but usually during the day. This was between 11 and 11:30 at night. I asked him what he was doing, and he said, "Let's go for a walk in the woods." I said, "No, thank you. My boyfriend is expecting me, and it's very late." He looked frustrated and started his car up after a few minutes of sitting there. We were driving and he pulled into an empty grocery store parking lot and he got out, made a phone call. That's when I messaged my best friend who I was with, where I was and what was happening. If she didn't hear from me in the next 30 minutes to call the police. Call them now. What are you talking about? What the fuck? Or call them to pick you up. Why are you waiting? What the fuck? He got back in the car and asked me, hold on. I would have just gotten out of the car. Why'd you stay in the car? I'm like, hey, I'm not feeling cool. Like, you need to knock this shit off while being on the phone with your boyfriend or like a friend or the police, because he was being sketch. He was being weird as fuck. He got back in the car and asked me to get in the back seat. I told him no, take me home. He got out of the car again, paced back and forth behind the car for a few minutes. I don't know why he didn't get out of the car. Maybe because of the location we were in had nothing but closed businesses due to the time. Maybe it was just fear and I was just trying to get home. But he got back in the car, started it up again, and drove me home. Once I was home and safe, I messaged him and told him I would be finding my own way home from school and that I didn't appreciate what he did and not to communicate with me anymore, which he did. Although he did try to apologize, but I told him just leave me alone. I feel like I dodged something crazy. I wonder if her friend still stayed with the guy. They may have broken it up after he tried like getting in her pants a little too quick. So either way, like they still went to school, so like I don't know how she avoided him or if she changed classes or dropped classes or what, but I'm pretty sure that still may have been awkward as fuck having him in class and or having him around on campus while you're still going to school, because like, and then it's late too, so he could have been waiting for you to get out of class or something. I don't know, but that does seem sketchy as fuck. I don't know why she didn't call the police or her boyfriend or something. Like, dude, I know my wife would have just straight up, if this is like our situation, she would have straight up called me. I don't. Why isn't he picking her up, bro? What is this? What type of boyfriend are you? Come on, step it up. Like, why aren't you picking her up? Unless you're working late, but I guess that's whatever. But but you still have friends. I don't know. Either way, yeah, that sucks. I don't fuck with that. That is pretty fucked up. So let's move on to the next one. This next one's called "My Friend's Gut Feeling May Have Saved Them Both That Night." This happened to one of my friends a few years ago. She used to walk from her school to the nearest metro station every evening with one of her classmates. Again with the classmates. The classmate might be innocent this time, but we'll see. The route was always the same: a narrow lane that connected the school to the station. By the time everybody left school, it was usually getting dark. The lane had very few street lamps, but it was still pretty dim. One evening they were walking as usual, chatting and gossiping, when something strange happened. Out of nowhere, as if she appeared from darkness itself, a middle-aged woman suddenly stepped in front of them. My friend was startled because she hadn't seen anyone there just a second ago. Standing a little behind the woman was a young girl wearing a curdy, or a short tomboy-style haircut. She didn't say a single word. The older woman said something, but my friend couldn't hear her clearly. Seeing their confused expressions, the woman asked, "Didn't you hear me?" Then she repeated herself, "Can you hook my blouse? I can't do it myself." My friend immediately felt something was off. The situation just didn't feel right. Her classmate, however, thought the woman genuinely needed help and was about to assist her. That's when the woman added, "Not here. Come to my house." What the fuck? That's such shit bait. Like, trying to get someone like, "Hey, help me with my shirt," but not here though, at the house. Like, what the fuck? Do a better job at kidnapping. That sounds fucked up. I'm sorry. At that point, every alarm bell in my friend's head went off. Without saying another word, she grabbed her friend's hand tightly and practically dragged her toward the metro station. They didn't look back. After telling their parents what had happened, they were never allowed to walk that route alone again. From then on, either their mother or their father would accompany them to and from the metro station. To this day, we still don't know if the woman was actually harmless or if something much worse could have happened. But looking back, following a stranger to their house or something as simple as hooking a blouse sounds like one of the biggest red flags imaginable. It always made me wonder whether the woman genuinely needed help or whether it was an excuse to lure two schoolgirls somewhere isolated. Either way, leaving with her would have been a huge risk. Do you think this was someone in need or something much worse? I think it's still weird that she had a little girl with her that had like a tomboy cut. I don't know. I don't know what the style that they're trying to describe. I really can't pick. I don't know the name of it. I've never heard of that. But this is a really odd story. This is a really weird excuse. Like, everyone's usually like, "Hey, can you help me look for my dog?" Or, "Hey, I need help moving these boxes. Can you come help me?" This lady's just like, "Hey, help me with my blouse at the house." Like, that's really fucking odd. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. This next one's called "My Friend Saved Me from a Homeless Man When I Was a Child." I still remember this incredibly clearly, even though it happened over a decade ago. Strangely, everything that happened after it is almost a complete blur, but I can picture every detail leading up to it in the moment it happened. This happened when I was 10 or 11 years old. I'll also be using fake names for privacy. I was there with my friends Daniel and Lydia, who were both around 12. I can't remember exactly what beach it was, but it was either Coogee Beach or another beach very close by. I don't even know where this is. Coogee Beach, I've never heard of it. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing that right. It sounds like a funny name. Lydia's mom. Oh, another. I don't know if they're European or they're British, but yeah, maybe that explains why I've never heard of this beach because it's not in America. I'm American. I'm sorry. I don't know anything outside of out of these borders. I don't fucking know about. I'm just kidding. I try to educate myself as much as I can about like other countries' geographies and stuff like that. I find it kind of interesting, but I've never heard of Coogee Beach. So Lydia's mom drove us to the beach. She would usually just sit and tan on the sand, and we would go off and do our own thing and have fun. We decided to play hide and seek around the beach. How do you play hide and seek at a beach? What the fuck? Like, where are you gonna hide? There's only like sand dunes and water. You're just gonna like dive in the water or some shit. I'm just kidding. I don't know. Kids are kids. They'll figure some shit out. We decided to play hide and seek around the beach, park, and surrounding walkways. Oh, okay. There's more to hide behind. I'm sorry. I thought that was just a plain beach because that's what I'm used to. Just a plain beach. You know, just beach, sand, and water. So Daniel was seeking and found me first, but neither of us could find Lydia. We searched everywhere: the beach, the nearby playground, and other paths. Facing north, there was stairs leading up from the beach to a walking path that followed the coastline, overlooking the ocean and the cliffs, as well as a small patch of bushland in the middle. We decided to head up the stairs and walk the entire path around to the other side before climbing over a fence into the bush to have a better look. About 5 minutes in, we came across what looked like a campsite. We saw a filthy tent, a sleeping bag hanging out of the zipper, a non-lit campfire, empty bean cans scattered around the floor. We both immediately felt uneasy. Something about it didn't feel right. Without saying much, we decided to walk around the tent, cut through the bush, and get near the stairs where we came from. Daniel was walking behind me as we made our way through the brush. Suddenly, in the most stern voice I'd ever heard from him, he said, "Run." I didn't ask why, and I didn't look back. Daniel was running behind me the whole time. Looking back now, I know he would have been much faster than me, but he stayed behind me the entire way. I sometimes wonder if he was doing that to make sure I didn't fall back behind. Whatever was happening, neither of us cared about what was happening except for getting out of there. We reached the fence. It was probably 4 feet high. For reference, I'm 5'1" as an adult, so I would have been around the height of the fence or maybe shorter. Damn, 5'1". That's tiny. I can't even picture that. That's really short. I don't think I've met that many people at that height. We both leapt over with no issues. The second we landed on the other side, we looked back. Standing inside the brush was a homeless man, maybe in his late 40s, long gray white beard, a dirty brown beanie, and worn and ragged clothes. In one hand, he was holding a knife. Jesus Christ, what are we gonna do? These kids have nothing. Why are you gonna attack these kids, bro? What the fuck? With his other hand, he kept motioning for us to come back, quietly saying, "Come here. Come here." We ran the entire way down the path until we found Lydia and her mom. From memory, we told them, but I don't think anything was done about the situation. I'm not sure if Lydia's mom told our parents or even reported it, if I'm being honest. I can't remember if I told my parents or if Daniel told his. It became one of those experiences we just never spoke about again. From how I saw the situation at that age, I just kind of shrugged it off. We all kept in touch for a few years after the incident, but eventually lost contact after I moved into a different state. Lately, I wonder about it more. What could have went differently? I still wonder what Daniel saw before he yelled for us to run. If Daniel hadn't been there that day, I probably wouldn't be here telling you this story. I count my lucky stars every day that Daniel was with me. Daniel's a real one. That's fucking insane. Also, when your body's running on adrenaline, it can do some crazy shit. Like when I'm sorry I bring this up a lot. I feel like, but when I was in a wreck a couple of months ago, I was stuck in my car and the door didn't open. I literally fucking kicked the door open because I was trying to get out. Like, cause the passenger, not the passenger door, the driver door was like stuck or some shit. And I kept trying to open the passenger door. I had to climb over. I literally kicked it open and I ran out of the car. That's just what your body does when you're on adrenaline. It's fucking insane. So this kid being like under 5 feet and then clearing like a 4 foot fence, which is like standard, is fucking insane. Because I was been pretty tall my whole life, and I've kind of had trouble clearing 4 foot fences like that. So for a kid to do that is it's actually sick. So yeah, guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a little bit different from what I do usually. I just kind of want to add some like real stuff that's actually happened to people as opposed to like stories that people may or may not believe. You know, even these, some people are like, "Oh, that never happened," but I feel like it's a little bit more grounded. Some of them were a little bit more grounded. Some of them don't make sense. So, but I like to believe these people because I mean, like, what do they have to lose besides just lying on the fucking internet? But either way, my next video I'll go back to like telling ghost stories or anything paranormal. So I'll see you in the next one.